Welcome to Longevity Industries' presentation of the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast, brought to you today by our sponsor, the Precision Metalforming Association and the PMA's Educational Foundation. Today, I am honored to have with me TroyTurnbull, who is the CEO and President of Industrial Innovations, and also heir apparent in the line of leaders from the Precision Metalforming Association. Welcome, Troy.
Hello, thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here. We really appreciate it. Do me a favor and just give us a little introduction of your company and how you got involved in manufacturing.
Well, our company was formed in the early 80s based out of Mississippi. And our company was started from a die caster, basically, and his vision was to build proportional mixing equipment for the casting industry. Our company, over the last 35 plus years, has grown through leaps and bounds. As you know, starting out building just one machine to today, we manufacture products for the die casting, the metal stamping, forging, and foundry industries. We also do die detail work, robotic automation. So our company has just grown just through not only our own growth, but through acquisition as well. I started out in the manufacturing world back in 1988, actually, as a tool and die apprentice in metal stamping. And as some may be aware, back in the late 80s, the economy was not very strong. So that was, kind of hard to continue on as, die shops were slow, manufacturing was slow. So I actually took a job as a press operator. And so my education background was really vocational and college, some college courses, through the apprenticeship program, but really a lot of hands-on knowledge right from the floor.
That's excellent. I that you hit a chord there with my feelings. I came out of a vocational background. I went to a vocational high school, and being from that background had changed my life without question, because I got into a lot of different areas and understood a lot of different things going into manufacturing that even today, anything that I did in college, everything reverts back to what I learned in high school and through vocational training, and that my college years, I would say, only make up a very small portion of what my career is. Would you say yours was kind of similar to that?
Absolutely. I was lucky enough 30 plus years ago to go to school where schools actually offered vocational training. The wood shop, the metal shop, the mechanical drawing classes, auto shop, and such. So I grew up in that era. My family is blue collar workers. My father was a master mechanic in automotive and heavy equipment. So, I've had a screwdriver in my hand since I was old enough to know how to hold one. So with that, my family has taught me, how to be mechanical. Unfortunately, I see in today's educational process that most high schools don't really offer those programs anymore.
Right.
And so today, kids coming out of high school, college isn't for everybody.
No.
And kids right now, they don't really know what they want to do when they get out of high school, because they don't know they don't know what it is that is available to them. We've had certain people, some kids that apply for us that they don't even know how to read a tape measure.
Yeah.
So when we look for people to hire, there's times that we're actually training, young adults how to do basic mechanical things.
Yeah, it really is a shame. I know my high school, which was a vocational high school, is closed and became a math magnet school, and it really is sad because that school taught classes like refrigeration, taught home residential wiring classes. It taught motor winding, electronics, TV and radio repair. Now, granted, we're a long way from TV and radio repair anymore.
Yeah, right.
I think everything you have, you pretty much throw away if it doesn't work, which is unfortunate in many ways. But it's great to see someone with your background that can speak to this. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Do me a favor and tell me a little bit about if you were looking back at manufacturing. If you looked at the history that you came from and see the change you've had now, looking into the future, say 5 years, what are some of the changes that you envision?
Well, interestingly enough, I worked in a manufacturing facility back in the 90s, really from early 90s up until I bought Industrial Innovations in 2001. In the early 90s, that was really when we were starting to see the presence of six-axis robots and what they could do. And back then, people looked at a six-axis robot and said, "Oh my goodness, this scares me.
Right.
What, how do I make it do this? What can I do? Safety features and so on and so forth." And if you look at six-axis robots today, especially like a collaborative robot, where you can stand right next to it and have it picking up an ink pen and passing it down to the next operator, and feel safe about doing it, because if you touch it, it's going to stop. I believe in today's industry that robotics are a key factor in the manufacturing sector. You see them growing every day. Lead times to even get robots are 20 weeks now, because the demand for them is so high. Right. So right now with six-axis robots, collaborative robots, I see robots doing things today and 5 years from now that people would have never imagined could be done. Specifically, a human can pick up a part and they can look at it and they can see a crack, or they can see a missed weld or something like that. Today, robots can do that with vision control, and they can send signals everywhere to your equipment saying, "Hey, this is a bad part, dump it here," or so on and so forth. And I see the industry going more robotics in fully automated, lights out manufacturing is what I like to call it.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential in that, and it's a really interesting time, in my opinion, for robotics. I haven't seen this kind of development. I mean, there's always been development in robotics, but it has taken a tenfold leap here in the last few years, and going forward, it seems to be taking an accelerated trajectory now. So I agree. I think that's a great.
To build on that a little bit, being a member of PMA, in being able to have these conversations with business owners, in the stamping industry, the the interesting thing is that everybody I talk to right now says we could grow our business 25, 30, 40%. We can't find the people to run the machine. So that's where I see people really, companies really starting to look more into automation to help their growth pattern.
Right. I agree with that. Now, would you say that that's the biggest industry challenge you expect over the next 5 years is really still workforce development?
I believe workforce development is key, because as we look for people to be able to do the jobs that we're looking to get done, even if we filled an entire plant full of robots and said we're going to do everything with a robot is only as good as the guy that programs it. A robot is only as good as the guy that wires it, and a robot is only as good as the guy that maintains it. And if we don't have people within our industry that understand the electronics, understand the mechanicals, understand the PM, understand the safety, I'll tell you, our industry's in trouble.
Right. No, I think most people would agree with that, and can certainly echo those concerns of how are we going to be able to supply an educated and trained workforce here over the next 5 years with the growth that most of the companies are already seeing. So
if you think back 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, die makers, when you built a die maker was literally manually machining die components, okay? And
Yep.
in form and fitting them, in building a die. Today, we have people that, and to think this further, they were drawing dies with a pencil.
Right.
Okay. And in a scale. And today we're doing everything AutoCAD, SolidWorks, you name it, but everything is right on a computer. And we send that information via computer to a machine, and we have somebody there that loads a block in it and presses go, and it machines the block. And then we send that down to another guy who then bolts it in, and then they send that to another guy who fits and runs it. Back in the day, that die maker did it all. Now we have everybody that's actually specialized,
right,
in particular, forms and functions of building dies. Again, it's 40 years later now, and those guys that were capable of doing all that work, they're retiring now, and we don't have the people that are trained, that understand actually how that even works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that I see. The key guys that used to do all this work, they're either retiring or they left the floor and now they're managing the company. So and we're all trying to find the next guy that can do these jobs. So I see, talking about education, I see educating people and find people that can relate to our industries, in letting, getting it in their head that, hey, this isn't a terrible profession to be in. This is a profession that you can make great money at and live a really good life.
Absolutely. If you were to look at some of the new technologies like additive and some of the closed loop strategies for machining and other segments there of manufacturing where they can actually put sensors in to monitor the machining process and then give feedback so that they know things about that tool that you're machining. Do you see that additive will help to kind of bridge that gap in in the workforce, where they can be more hands off in that process?
So essentially, what Colin here, one of our mechanical engineers that's sitting in with me, his comment to that is, you can add sensors, you can put, you can monitor data, but you still have to have somebody there that understands what they're looking at. I'm not sure if I answered that question exactly the way you were looking for it, but
no, I think that's very appropriate. I think that no matter where we go, I think that people struggle with the idea that, well, we're just going to be having robots. Well, you still have to tell those robots what to do, where to go, and you can keep making smarter robots, but at the end of the day, there's an element there that is above the capability of what a robot can do. We can program smarter robots, we can program smarter additive manufacturing procedures, but at the end of the day, we still have to continue training engineers, we still have to continue developing our personnel to be able to take that to the next level. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that definitely answers what I was where I was going with that. PMA has always been a leader in the metal forming industries. And what are some of the ideas or suggestions you might have to attract millennials into our industry?
Well, one of the big things that we do with the West Michigan PMA district is we try to get into the schools, even at the elementary school level, say 5th grade, 6th grade. We try to get in and show the kids through manufacturing day and so on and so forth the cool things that that you can do. Again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but a robot is a pretty cool thing to look at, when you're 10 years old and, you see, the neat things that it's capable of doing. The other thing we do is we do bus trips. So we will schedule a trip through the local high schools, and we'll fill 5 buses and we'll bring them to manufacturing facilities. We'll get them tours. We'll take them through the tool rooms. We'll take them through the maintenance departments. We'll take them through the engineering department, quality control. We'll show them widgets being made. And the most important thing is that we feed them pizza and cookies, and they kind of like that.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. I think you hit it on the head. We have to be ambassadors for our industry, for manufacturing, and we can't rely just on schools to do that. We have to kind of carry that ball and help to educate people, because I hate to say it, in general, advisors at schools have not been our best asset. And they've really struggled to assist us to continue to fill our pipeline of needed manufacturing people, because they've steered people away from this for so long.
And with one of the other things to add to that is education. As the PMA, we do our manufacturing days and our bus trips and so on and so forth. But one of the other key things to this is we can educate our kids, but we have to educate our government. And, doing the One Voice fly-in to Washington, D.C., and having the Franklin Partnership Group and Bracewell help us get in front of our congressmen and our senators and let them know that, hey, we're in a crisis here right now. We're struggling to find educated, not even so much educated, but just people that understand manufacturing environment and the good things that it can do, and the dilemmas that we need, such as our apprenticeship programs, and the fact that our high schools aren't vocational anymore. They're strictly
college prep.
For lack of better words, we're strictly teaching kids math, science, and history, but not telling them what the math and the science and the history can do for them.
Right. Yes. I think that's a good point. We do struggle with giving them good examples of where they can apply these knowledges that they're taking into school and find a place an outlet for that. As you look forward in the 5-year picture, is there anything that you can think of off the top of your head that you're going to be glad you won't be doing, that things that you do today that you're glad you're not going to be doing in 5 years?
Well, for our company, what I find is, our company was formed in the early 80s. We have product lines that still are running today that were built back in the early 80s. So for me to say, boy, I'm glad I don't ever have to deal with that again, I don't believe that's true. And I don't believe that's true in any form of manufacturing. I think even with new technology, I think we still go back to the way we done things in the past. We look for ways to do things better, but in a nutshell, it's still manufacturing. We're still drilling. We're still cutting. We're boring. We're drawing, whether it's on a scratch pad or on a computer. Either way, we still have to concept things out. So I like to think that as things evolve, we still go back to the way we did things before as well.
Yeah, I think everything in life comes full circle in that arena. Do you have anything that, from some of the trending reports that we've had for manufacturing and looking forward 5 years, is there anything that sticks out to you that looks like are going to be some really good industries that are going to take off?
I'll be honest with you. There's one thing that really, really intrigues me, and that's the electric car.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had the privilege of being able to tour Tesla several times. And as we hear autonomous vehicles and, oh my gosh, this person died and this car did that, I believe that autonomous vehicles, they're capable. There's a few things that, probably need to be done yet, but I believe the electric car and autonomous vehicles, and I believe that even airplanes are going to basically, I think they can they'll be able to fly us. I believe that cars will be able to drive us. And I think that that's a big industry. I think that what Tesla has done and proved is phenomenal. And, what scares me about the electric car, especially if you ever go online and you actually look at a Tesla and its component, there's not a whole lot there, but I'll tell you what, that car drives like a dream.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And I'm still waiting for the whole Jetsons thing to happen here, But maybe that will be in 5 years. Maybe it'll be just outside of our reach. We've developed an awful lot of things very quickly here in the last 20 years. It's I can remember going back into school in high school, which is now 30 years ago, but the computer was just in its infancy.
Yes.
And now look at it. Look where we are. I mean, you hold in your hand.
I remember what I was being taught to do with a computer in 1987, And what I do with a computer today has absolutely nothing to do with what they were teaching me in high school.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I don't think they could have even envisioned it,
No.
at that time, So, well, Troy, it's been great to have you here today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here. And for our sponsor, the Precision Metal Forming Association, I'm Dean Phillips, your host, and thank you for listening to the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. Everyone have a great day. Thanks.